Have you ever forgotten a new acquaintance's name or walked into a room and forgot why you were there? For many people over 60, moments like these get labeled a senior moment and dismissed. But what if it's not that? What if the culprit isn't age, but is lurking right inside the home you live in every day? It's hard to believe, but a growing body of research indicates that your living environment, my dementia, from scented candles in the bedroom, the comfy sofa where you watch TV, to the air freshener you use each morning, could be releasing chemicals that directly impact the brain. And more dangerously, they silently sabotage your memory, your ability to focus, and increase your risk for dementia over time. I know this sounds serious, because who would suspect that the very items we choose to make our homes cozier, cleaner, and more comfortable could be harming our memory and brain function? But as you enter an age where you're more vulnerable to neurological changes, living in a potentially toxic environment is no small matter. I remember Elaine, a 67-year-old from Portland, who complained of constant forgetfulness and fatigue. Her doctor found nothing unusual. But when she changed her habits with air fresheners, her old mattress, and kitchen plastics, a miracle happened. She felt more alert, no longer hazy in the mornings, and her memory seemed sharper than before. I never thought a few household items could make my mind so foggy, she shared. If you find yourself having strange symptoms, forgetfulness, slow reflexes, difficulty concentrating, don't be so quick to blame age. It's possible your familiar home is affecting your brain every single day without you even realizing it. In this video, I'll walk you through 5 common household items that experts now warn are linked to cognitive decline and an increased risk of memory loss in older adults. What's special is this: you have the power to change things. It's not expensive, it's not complicated, it just takes awareness. Before we begin, if you feel this is an important topic, please hit the like button to help spread this information to more people. If you've ever felt your memory isn't as sharp as it used to be, leave a 1 in the comments to let me know you are here and that you're not alone. Now let's start with our first item, one that seems small and smells lovely, but could be silently harming your brain every day. Item 1, scented candles and wax melts containing toxic volatile chemicals. Maybe you've lit a scented candle in your bedroom to help you sleep, or placed a wax melt in the living room to keep your home smelling pleasant. Those scents bring a sense of relaxation and comfort, especially for older adults, when sleep and peace at home become more precious than ever. But what very few people know is that hidden within that fragrance may be toxic volatile chemicals, silently affecting your brain every day. Most scented candles and wax melts on the market today are made from paraffin, a petroleum-based wax. When burned, paraffin releases compounds like toluene and benzene, substances that can harm the central nervous system with long-term exposure. For people over 60, whose brains are already more sensitive to agents that cause inflammation and dysfunction, inhaling these chemicals every night can contribute to a slow, almost unnoticeable cognitive decline. Not to mention, the scent in candles is often created from synthetic fragrances, containing dozens to hundreds of chemical compounds, many of which have not been fully studied for their long-term effects on the human brain. These substances can cross the blood-brain barrier, causing mild inflammatory responses in nerve cells, a key factor that increases the risk of dementia over time. Sandra, a 70-year-old from Seattle, had a habit of burning a lavender-scented candle every night for 3 years. She said it was her way to relax and feel better after a long day. But she also began noticing she was often distracted, forgetting small details like her granddaughter's name or her doctor's appointments. When a home environment specialist tested her home, they found the toluene level in her bedroom air was 4 times higher than the recommended limit. After she stopped using scented candles and switched to non-combustible natural essential oils, she felt her mind was clearer and her memory more stable after just a few weeks. The message here isn't to fear fragrance. It's to choose the right kind of fragrance. If you love a scented space, try using a diffuser with pure essential oils, avoid candles made from paraffin, and especially avoid products that list fragrance or synthetic scent on the label, because true peace of mind doesn't come from a pleasant smell, but from a healthy, clear brain protected from silent dangers. Now let's move on to the second item, a familiar sight in many living rooms and bathrooms, something you spray for instant freshness, but which could be weakening your nerve cells day by day. Item 2. Air freshener sprays with neurotoxic synthetic fragrances. Just a quick spray, and the air in your home is instantly fresh and clean. That's why many people make synthetic air fresheners a daily habit. A spritz in the morning to start the day, a spray after cooking, or simply to mask the musty smell of a room that's been closed up. But have you ever wondered, where does that scent come from? And are you inhaling something more dangerous than the odor you're trying to eliminate? The truth is, most air freshener sprays on the market contain fragrance, an umbrella term for hundreds of different scent chemicals, many of which can directly impact the central nervous system. Some studies show that common compounds in air fresheners, like phthalates and VOCs, volatile organic compounds, can pass through the respiratory tract, enter the bloodstream, and affect brain cell activity, especially in regions related to memory, concentration, and emotion. The danger is these effects don't happen immediately. They accumulate little by little. A few sprays a day, a few minutes in a closed space. Over time, the brain begins to show signs that seem like natural aging: forgetfulness, slow reactions, mood swings, fatigue, and disorientation. Richard, a 74-year-old from Tampa, was always incredibly tidy. He kept his house smelling fresh by spraying air freshener every morning and evening. But after a few years, he started feeling on again, off again, with his memory, sometimes unable to recall his next-door neighbor's name. When his son took him for a checkup, doctors found no obvious brain damage, but advised him to remove all products with synthetic fragrances from his home. After just 1 month of switching to natural essential oils and opening windows for daily ventilation, Richard said, "My head feels lighter, clearer. It feels like the house is breathing again, and so am I." What's important to note is this: air fresheners aren't the only way to create a pleasant space. You can use an air purifier, place a few houseplants around, or simply open a window to let in the morning breeze. Fragrance shouldn't come at the cost of your memory, your clarity, and the vitality of your mind each day. Let's move on to our third item. Not something you spray or burn, but something you sit and lie on every day. A familiar piece of furniture that is releasing compounds silently undermining the safety of your own home. Item 3. Old mattresses and foam sofas releasing toxic flame retardants. Do you remember how old your current mattress is? Or that sofa in the living room where you watch television every night? When was it purchased? For many people over 60, those pieces of furniture are like a part of the home, like old friends. But there's a truth few want to face. Old mattresses and foam sofas, over time, can release toxic flame retardants, silently affecting your brain health every single day. Most mattresses and chairs have a core made of polyurethane foam, a type of foam that is highly flammable. To reduce fire risk, manufacturers added chemical flame retardants, especially a group called PBDEs, polybrominated diphenyl ethers. It sounds safe, but PBDEs were banned in many countries after studies found they can accumulate in the human body, affect hormones, disrupt brain function, and increase the risk of memory decline over time. The scary part is, you don't need to lie on or directly smell these chemicals. As mattresses and foam get old, PBDE molecules slowly escape into the air, cling to household dust, and are inhaled daily. Older adults who already have a weaker blood-brain barrier and a slower detoxification rate are even more susceptible. That feeling of being hazy or groggy in the morning, or those unexplained headaches, could be coming from that very comfortable mattress. Margaret, a 73-year-old from Denver, experienced the feeling of waking up in a fog every morning. She slept enough and ate well, but still noticed her memory was getting significantly worse. It wasn't until her daughter read an article about old mattresses and flame retardants that they decided to replace all the mattresses and sofas in the house. Just a few weeks later, Margaret said, "It's like I got back a part of my brain I'd lost. I wake up clearer, sharper, and truly healthier." If your mattress is over 8 years old, if your sofa is starting to sag or has a strange smell on hot days, it might be time to consider a replacement. And when you shop, look for products clearly labeled free of chemical flame retardants, or Certipura certified, because that's the first step to protecting your precious brain from silent toxins. Next, we'll head to a familiar item in the kitchen, small, convenient, and seemingly harmless, but when its surface gets scratched, it becomes a source of neurotoxic chemicals that is truly concerning. If you're still watching and finding this useful, please comment with the number 3 below to let me know. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I encourage you to hit subscribe and ring the bell so you don't miss new videos. Your support helps us continue to create helpful and inspiring content. Item 4, scratched non-stick pans releasing neurotoxic chemicals. Non-stick pans, one of the indispensable friends in the modern kitchen. Easy to cook with, easy to clean, no need for much oil. It sounds ideal, especially for older adults who need a healthy diet. But what many people don't notice is that after a few years of use, the non-stick coating starts to peel, revealing tiny scratches. And it's from those very scratches that a silent threat to your neurological health begins to creep into every meal. Most older non-stick pans use a compound called Teflon, which contains PFOA, perfluorooctanoic acid. When this coating is scratched, PFOA can be released at high temperatures and get into your food or the air. This is a persistent compound that can accumulate in the body and particularly affect the central nervous system. Studies have linked PFOA to cognitive impairment, reduced concentration, and even impacts on the brain's memory function, especially in older adults whose brain protective barriers are no longer as effective as they once were. What's more worrying is that PFOA has no smell and no taste. You can't tell it's in this morning's fried egg or the pan-seared fish you had for dinner last night. Day by day, your body silently accumulates these toxins without you ever knowing. Thomas, a 71-year-old from Austin, was very careful about his diet. Low salt, low sugar, no fried foods. But he still found his memory fading, the feeling of being on and off becoming more pronounced. His daughter, a doctor, discovered after checking his kitchen that his non-stick pan was over 10 years old, with countless scratches. They replaced it with stainless steel and natural cast iron pans, and also added antioxidant-rich foods to his diet. After just 1 month, Thomas said, "It was like escaping a fog. Everything is clearer, including my thoughts." If you're using an old non-stick pan or see even pin-sized scratches, it's time to say goodbye. Instead, choose pans without chemical coatings or products certified as PFOA and PFAS-free. Now, let's move on to our final item, not in the kitchen, not emitting a smell, but present at every meal. Those familiar plastic containers. Compact, convenient, but they could be sabotaging your memory with every meal, every day. Item 5, old or cheap plastic containers with BPA causing cognitive decline. Do you use plastic containers to store leftovers in the fridge or heat food directly in a plastic container in the microwave? These small items, so convenient and common in almost every kitchen, are becoming a silent threat to brain health, especially if they're old, stale, discolored, or made from cheap plastic of unknown origin. One of the main culprits hidden in many types of hard plastics is BPA, bisphenol A, a chemical compound used to make plastic clear, durable, and heat-resistant. The problem is, BPA can leach into food, especially when the plastic is scratched, deformed, or heated. And once in the body, BPA can mimic the hormone estrogen, disrupting the endocrine system and directly affecting brain function. Numerous studies have shown a link between long-term BPA exposure and cognitive decline, reduced short-term memory, and even an increased risk of neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's. Older adults whose nervous systems are already more sensitive are even more susceptible to the hormonal changes caused by BPA, even at very small doses. Linda, a 68-year-old in Phoenix, shared that she often used plastic containers to heat her lunch in the microwave. She had been using them for over 5 years. The plastic was starting to turn yellow and was slightly warped. After reading an article about BPA and memory, she decided to switch entirely to glass containers and never heat plastic again. A few weeks later, she noticed she no longer loses her train of thought mid-sentence, and her mind felt less tired and scattered than before. The message here is very clear. Take a look at the containers in your kitchen. If they are discolored, have a strange smell, or are not labeled BPA-free, be bold and get rid of them. Instead, choose glass, ceramic, or high-quality plastic with food-safe certification. This isn't just about protecting your digestive health, but it's also the first line of defense for your brain against a quiet decline. Now that you've explored with me these five seemingly harmless items that directly impact memory and cognitive function, let's wrap up with a broader perspective. And more importantly, find a way to start the journey toward living in a home that is truly safe for your brain. We've just explored 5 familiar items in every home, from scented candles, air fresheners, old mattresses, and non-stick pans to plastic food containers. Each one seems harmless, even necessary for comfort and convenience. But when used for many years, when they start to peel, get old, or contain unregulated chemicals, they can silently damage the parts of the brain responsible for memory, focus, and thinking skills. Memory loss doesn't happen overnight. It starts with very small things: a bit of fogginess, forgetting an acquaintance's name, a moment of confusion when looking for a familiar object. And if ignored, these signs accumulate, one day becoming a real concern. The good news is you have a great deal of control over this risk, starting right in the most familiar place, the home you live in every day. Your home should be a sanctuary for both body and mind, but that doesn't happen automatically. It comes from making conscious choices, replacing old plastic with glass, swapping a scratched pan for a chemical-free one, putting away the scented candle, and opening the window to the breeze. These small, everyday actions are the strong barrier protecting your brain from silent toxins. I want to invite you to take a moment today to walk around your home. Look again at the things you've become so used to seeing you no longer notice them. An old chair, a warped plastic box, a can of air freshener in the corner. Perhaps they are the reason you don't feel as sharp as you used to. Don't wait until your memory fades to take action, and you don't have to change everything in one day. Just start with one thing. Swap out a plastic container, or toss an old scented candle. Every small step is a step you take away from the risk of cognitive decline. Because brain health doesn't come from supplements, but from how you choose to live each day, from the things that seem the smallest. If you found this video helpful, please leave a comment sharing what you realized, or simply type the number 5 to let me know you stayed until the end. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share so that more people have the chance to protect their memory, themselves, and their loved ones. Thank you for listening. I'll see you in the next video, where we'll continue our journey to live healthily, think clearly, and live each day to the fullest.